Divine Rise. Blessed be to your day. As always, may it be everything you require to create everything you desire. I wanted to, while I was thinking, putting the things together in my space. If you look below, I got the, you look in the description, we got the G.O.D Alchemist, the web, go to the, tap in. Tomorrow we're going to be getting into uncomfortable disclosures. It's time to have these uncomfortable conversations. It's time to have that uncomfortable conversation. One of the biggest conversations that happened for the community, for family, black, in that general sense. Remember, I'm always talking about emotional intelligence, emotional literacy is the foundation of financial literacy. Shadow work is synonymous to all your work, to everything that you build, because it helps you understand, Grand Rising, because it helps you understand it helps you understand your emotional management. And a lot of times when I sat in a space with myself after a while, I really thought about it. I was like, it's nobody's job to manage my emotions. It's nobody's job to manage our emotions. In the reality of it, when you think about the space, that receipt or the rain check, that traumatic experience, that traumatic event, that memory, it's only good at the store in which you bought it from, where you got it from. So many times, due to this, not really understanding, we stay fiscally illiterate to understanding the management of our emotions, the management of our energy, the management of our emotions. That's nobody's job but mine. In spaces where you were using your emotions as a gift and you were gifting through this emotion through traumatic responses, you got to understand, I've made this joke before, that whenever it comes to people's birthdays, anniversaries, whatever they're celebrating, I'll go get them a gift card. Greetings. I'll go get them a gift card. Like, don't have an expectation that I'm going to bring you a gift. I'll get you a gift card. This is how you become fiscally in the emotional fiscal year. The fiscal year, if you do not know about what a fiscal year is, the fiscal year is how everything operates down here based on as a business. So the fiscal year, the emotional fiscal year is 3 quarters, 4 months, 3 quarters. So that means by now, around this time, when you think about the fall equinox, the winter equinox, you think about coming into these spaces, during this time where you're emotionally relevant, so holidays and things of that nature, once you start understanding your environment and how it works, you understand how to maximize in it. Around this time, this is the holidays. You will emotionally invest so much of your energy into the holidays, into Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's Day, and you don't take a break until about tax season. But if you understand using this as the byproduct, it's time to understand your emotional intelligence. The quarterly, how often are you writing petitions, writing down things with a real piece of paper, real pencil, you writing down your petition? How often are you going back and you're looking over your petition? Like if you write a petition like your business plan, your petition is basically your business plan into the next cycle. This is how you start staying ahead in these cycles. So that means at least you should have 3 business plans. The rough draft, of course, is the rough draft. We understand it from when we were in school. You know, you write the rough draft, all the notes. Then you write your first draft. That's the notes, and you synthesize the notes. what you learned. You brought it into your own words, your own personal words, your intentions and whatever. And in that final copy, that's the one that you about to use. That's the one that's activated. That's the one you using. That's the one you moving forward with. Even with that. So when I asked about how you write a petition, you writing your business plan for yourself, because you are that company, you are that brand, you are that business. Accept it, love it. You are a representation. Everything that you do from that point, based in gratitude, is automatic. This is my brand. This is my brand. This is my representation. Everything that comes into my space is a representation of my emotional literacy. It's teaching me how to manage my energy, manage myself. So take that thought and then really think about how often are you taking that quarterly check with yourself? Not waiting for somebody else of like, oh my God, you're 50, you're 40, however, I don't even know the age for the prostate exam anymore. We have to get ourselves into this ability of learning how to manage ourselves. The less ability that you have to manage your emotions, to manage your energy, the more you will be susceptible to everything happening outside of you to do it for you. LLC, this is what I talk about when we go into this LLC mentality. When you're taking in these messages, you're taking in this information. You only take it in based on the level of understanding to yourself. That's why when you're looking at you'll look at certain messages, you'll get a certain message, you'll get certain information, but then remember how I talked about it yesterday, due to the contrast, based on comparison. If you're stuck in comparing everything, you're always in competition. You're always going to be in competition to try to see. I look back and thought about it. In most of my relationships, I was in a competition. When it came to understanding the aspects about levels and knowing where I'm at and owning where I'm at, I was stuck in competition. It always ended around the same thing. Friendships, relationships, whatever they were. It was based on, I'm getting audited, I'm auditing myself, or I'm trying to allow this person to audit me. In the relationship, you're using comparisons for them to audit you. So now you got to think about all the relationships, friendships, and it don't matter what they did. It don't matter what they did. They robbed you. They slept with your girl, slept with your man. Did whatever they did. That's not what matters. That's not what matters. It's how you felt when it happened. That's what you're getting to. How it felt when it happened. What emotions did it come up with? It's not, I got angry, I was sad. No. Do you understand what you felt? Do you understand that in some spaces you were jealous? Do you know what jealousy is? These are the most simplest questions to yourself. Do you understand what jealousy is? Jealousy is an internal mechanism based on something that I'm not giving to myself, and I have not learned to give it to myself. So when you think about jealousy and somebody does something that you don't like and it made you feel jealous, it was radiating from the internal. No one can, like I say it all the time. No one can make you jealous. No one can make you insecure. No one can make you feel worthless. No one can make you feel these things. It was already present. You're just not taking the quarterly checks and balances based on whatever aspect it is. So if they do something that triggers your jealousy, that's already internal. That was the audit. That was your audit. You can hold the rain check all you want you remember when you did this to me? And now you're going to carry that same rain check, relationship over, friendship don't work anymore, and you'll carry that same rain check, that same voucher, that same receipt that itemized everything that you did in the last relationship, the last job you were at. And then you're going to try to use it in that space. Here's my rain check. Now think about it, how many times we've done it. I had to think about how many times I actually did that shit. How many times have you went into a new job, a new ship, got on a new boat, and you pulled out your receipts? You told them everything that you did. This is what I've done before. I just don't want to be... Think about the tone and the intention in that petition you just wrote. Because you went into that relationship, you're writing a new petition. But if I'm doing it from a sense of owning something and the lack of owning myself, then of course when I go into a space, there's certain things that we got used to in that narrative. You taking a sense of ownership. You're my woman. You're my man. You're my friend. Don't own shit. Can't own me. I can't own you. So now you got to look at that narrative. Based on you being this aspect into this space, think about what you're really saying when you're saying you're my man, you're my best friend. Like, I got these files. I got this flash drive. Let's plug it in. It don't work that way. It's a different operating system. Everybody that you come around, as long as when you're coming into this space, it's a different operating system. I don't care if they do the same things that happened in the last relationship. It's a different operating system. Every relationship, friendship, these new aspects that are coming into your space, until you start taking that ownership, you're going to look at it from this space. And I had to learn this a long time. I learned this. Every relationship is not meant to be based on where I was at. I can't use the same files in the same spreadsheet in the same layout that I used in the last relationship. Because I can, but when it triggers, it's letting me know my pattern. Then you stop saying you can't do it. You can do it. You do whatever you want. But you must understand what comes up when you put it into that space. Because that relationship that you were in that was oh so toxic, that friendship that you were in that was oh so not going anywhere, the only way that it affected your process is because that was already present. So since you didn't deal with it in the last relationship, the last friendship, the last point, guess what you're going to do? You're going to take that same corrupted file and bring it into the new space. And then you'll call yourself, I'm being open. I'm being open. I get what I want, and I'll do anything to get what I want. Think about everything that's on that flash drive before you take it into the next space. One of the biggest things that I give clients when we get to deep work with themselves is unforgiving relationships, unaccepted relationships, and I'll tell you to write a letter. I actually gave it out today. I'll tell you to write a letter. Whether it's a letter to your mother, letter to your father, letter to the last relationship, the last 5-6 relationships you was in, whether it was a letter to Greg or a letter to Cindy or whoever, there's a format to the letter. There's a format to the letter. Similar to like if you took computer classes, like I did, you took computer classes, when you were taking that Excel class, there's a format to it. Double space, everything. There's a lineup to it. There's a reason I give you the exercise. Because in the beginning of the exercise, you're going to state your current feelings. You're going to state your current feelings. Towards the middle of the format, you're going to say everything that they did and everything that you did. Towards the mid of that format, the mid of this letter that you're going to write, you're going to feel really, really emotional. You're going to feel angry, upset. Keep writing. Keep writing. You're going to write this letter until you get to a point of forgiveness, acceptance, forgiveness, and thanking them for the experience. You will not stop writing that letter until you get to that point. Real piece of paper, real pencil, write. Because here's the thing. If you can't do that, then you have no ability to understanding what a true plan for the plan of your authenticity is. If you can't do certain aspects in that space for yourself to to that level that is breaking you down in level of honesty, then it's going to give you the reflection and let you understand your space. It's only until we get to that point to understand our space that we start looking at that quarterly check and balance, that profit and loss. It took me a while to get to the point to where when I invest, it's a gift card. Here's a gift card. Here's a prepaid Visa. It's preloaded with all of the energy that I'm going to give you. You own this gift card. Do whatever you want. Do whatever thou wilt with this card. That amount of energy. Once it's out, it's out. You don't get any more. It changes the game based in the aspects of insurance. One thing that I was thinking about as I was getting ready was the CEO, the CFO, the COO, the CSO, that's the chief executive officer, the chief financial officer, chief operations officer, chief security officer. Who holds those roles in your life? Who have you given those roles to? What is their resume? Have you written out your resume for yourself? That petition, that business plan, that's your resume. That's you writing about yourself. Remember, everything down here is only a byproduct of the most ancient aspects of yourself. But if you don't understand how to put them together, you're really not gonna get the maximum benefit. It's like taking to the aspect of thought. You look at every day of the week and every day of the week. That's like me telling you, hey, today is Jupiter. It's a good time to put in applications. It's a good time to put in applications for a job because it's Jupiter. What did you do before that? That's like saying Friday is Venus Day. It's a day of love. What did you apply to Thursday? What new wins did you take on by understanding and assessing the changes of that Tuesday or the night before, and you're looking at Monday, the moon, the change in those invested changes? See, everything goes in that rhythm. So I can't just, when you're really taking that true assessment of yourself, these are those steps. This is how you get out of the time loop. Because if till you're out of the time loop, you can't see this emotional fiscal year. How this shit flows together based on the business. So therefore, everything that you go into with a lack of understanding, it always reflects your emotions. Every single time. It always goes back to your emotions. I don't care what you do down here. It's always going to go back to how you've managed and learned your emotions. Are you still in that shame complex? Is there still an insecurity? I've been manipulated all my life. Manipulation is natural. Conflict is natural. It's the emotions that you attach to them is what gets you stuck on one side or the other of the polarity. Manipulation is natural. Once you own it and you understand that you've done it, then you can go through this process of like, how have I used my emotions in an imbalance to manipulate things? And then you'll look back at some of the, I ain't never manipulated nobody a day in my life. Yeah, you have. You just didn't know. Or even if you did know, you didn't understand. The underline or the contrast is you didn't understand. You did it because that's what you thought was normal. Ooh, we've been together for 3 years and we're not going anywhere. What conversations have you been having? You meet all of my requirements, so why doesn't it work? You got to understand at different levels, especially when you're coming into your authentic self, them standards that you set, that petition, that business plan that you wrote, is no longer based on need and want. You understand what need and want is. Like, for example, I have a need to learn and excel in a new design of being building. So example, the retreat that I'm putting together. So naturally, everything that I want is based on the lessons of what I need to aspire to and tap into to create that retreat. That gives me my value, that sets my tone for my desire, and that helps me stay focused. Now I'm in this alluring investment of building this thing, bringing this apparatus to life in my space. While I'm doing it, I'm now assessing my emotions, because there might be a day where I don't feel like typing. There might be a day when I don't feel like looking at some things. And I accept those aspects because it's like, okay, cool. It's cool that I don't feel like doing this today. Let me take some time. Let me go do something else real quick. Because now everything that comes into my space that I'm aware of is going to lead me right back to that. That's how you get in line with your focus. That's how you start understanding that your environment is the ultimate opportunity. Instead of you sitting there like, well, I did this and I did this and I did this. Remember, I've talked about this before. There's a difference between multitasking and multi-layering. You can multitask yourself to death. You can have that over there on the stove. There's a difference between, the best example. Mise en place or put in place. Yeah, mise en place or put in place. That means when I set up the kitchen for something that I want to eat, everything is set in place. Everything is in a facet. Everything is in a space where it's lined up to where each aspect reflects into the other aspect. So I don't have to worry about the result, because I know all of these products, all of these aspects come together to form this result. I can look at the picture. But I know it won't be exactly like that. And I know the reason it won't be exactly like that is because it's a different level of emotion that I'm putting into it. It's my emotional intelligence that's going to be the byproduct of how I put all of this together. That's when you look at somebody that makes dinner, makes a meal. Like, for example, I don't know if y'all seen the picture of them chicken wings. The chicken wings with the flour and the blood still leaking out of them. That was based on their emotional intelligence. As opposed to you see somebody make a whole gourmet meal and it doesn't seem like anything. Oh my God, like you start feeling insecure and you're not good enough and I wish I could cook like that. I wish I could do that. That's a lesson of your life. You're not do anything like me. I can do nothing like you. I had to accept it. I can't do nothing. You cannot do anything like me, and I cannot do anything like you. That's not what I'm meant to be here for. That's not what you're meant to be here for. We are meant to be able to look at the methods, become present, looking at these methods and being like, oh, I see how you got that result. And being able to share that back and forth. I could take something from that. You can take something from here. And we naturally can go back and forth. As long as it fits the dynamic of the plan that we already have set with ourselves. But you got to write that business plan first. You got to put yourself into that space first. Remember, the traumatic experiences, they brought you a pattern. They brought you habits. They gave triggers to your behaviors. So you've been living that out your entire time. That's why when you switch from the employee to your traumas, to the owner, to the manager of your traumas, to the owner of your shadow, now you look inside of your space, and if you have a job or you're taking ownership, you understand that there are differences. But those differences, those are the triggers or the lessons that you need to learn. Like me as an employee, like the vessel, my avatar as an employee, it's employed by me. The avatar is employed by me. It's powered by how I manage my emotions and ultimately how my shadow is active in my work. That's the CEO, that's the CFO, that's that's my chief operating executive, that's my chief security executive. This is just the byproduct of that work. So now when you go into the space, I have no now you start understanding where simple things like you'll look at, like someone says, I don't understand how you jumped out there like that and you started your business. There's a rule I forgot the name of the rule, but there's a rule to the 1%, then there's the 10%, then there's the 15, the 6, the 1, the 6, the 10%, that 1% that'll do it. That next percentage, they'll look at the ones that did it and then they'll go right behind it. And then there's that 10% of them that'll, follow the same suit. But then you have the people that are that 16% that literally will simply complain. Now, in between that 16%, there's that little 36%, 32, 36% that they benefit from what the others have done and they feed from it. And that's their position. Let them do what thou wilt. But then there's that 16%. That 16%, those are the most fractured individuals. When you look at yourself in this diagram, in this layout of percentages, you were at a 16%. You may still be at the 16%. You feel me? Or you may have graduated and you came into the percent of looking what others did and you're benefiting from it. It's okay. It's accepting what level that you are at. Because accepting that level is the key to shifting from that level. But you got to accept it first. It doesn't matter if you're 16, 34, 45, 56, 72. It don't matter what your age is. As I've said before, I'm 36. I'm 27 forever. I accepted the role. Like, nigga, I am an elder. So it ain't about time anymore. So a lot of the aspects that you had inside of your space, they take you outside of that. It's going to challenge you. It's like one of the biggest things that I had to understand and work through was you remember, you're always on your square. In every space that I was in, whether it was the job, whether it was extracurricular activity, whatever activity I did, I always was the youngest. Always was the youngest. I remember working at a grocery store. I was the youngest to date produce manager at 19 years old. Youngest manager inside of the space. I prided myself on being the youngest. I put so much pride into being the youngest. But putting my pride in the conditions of always being the youngest, I realized that that's how I compromised my standards. Because just because I was in the position, I was in that role, I didn't understand, I didn't have a goal set. I had a pattern. So my goal was simply based on traumatic response. You know what? I'm going to prove that I'm not an accident. I'm going to prove I can do it my way. And every time I don't do it my way, whether or not I do it my way, I got a rain check. I got that rain check. So if it doesn't work, I can hold up this rain check or this receipt, be like, see, this is because of all of this that happened to me. All of this happened to me. That's why I wasn't able to do it. I can keep using that receipt. Keep using those rain checks. Writing up, forging out my rain checks, put them into space. Therefore, so I never took any accountability, never took no responsibility. So now when it came time to get audited, when the taxes would hit, I didn't understand my emotional fiscal year. By the time I caught up, I was still behind. Like right now, in your thought process with your emotions, that benefits into the byproduct of this here financial literacy. This, between now and November, this is a planning period. All you should be you should be finalizing plans and getting things set up so when spring come around in March in the fiscal, you already have a plan set. But you must have a plan. It's time to stop putting yourself in a space to where you're just reacting off of the emotion. Because that's what's always going to leave you in that space of I'm in my 30s and I'm not where I want to be in my life. Nobody seems to understand where I want to be. Because you're still looking at the future, and because you don't understand that you're existing as that body of light, you're trying to preserve a future that is based on your trauma. You're trying to preserve an outlook that is based on the traumatic experience. You're trying to preserve it based on that. But that accountability and that honesty, it forces you. I've used this example plenty of times. Before this point, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, a beard, fuck that shit. I'm gonna use the physical aspects. A beard, fuck that shit. Locks, fuck that shit. I'm not wearing a Cuban link. I'm not wearing a diamond encrusted Cuban link. Fuck that shit. I'm not in the big house that I wanted. Fuck that shit. And I would sit there in that space, and I would look at my life and keep blaming it on everybody else. I got a receipt to why I ain't got the house. I got this rain check why I ain't got this and why I ain't got this. And I could be here and I could be here. What's stopping me from learning it now? When I understand this aspects of attraction, I've seen the house already. I've seen everything lined up the way it's lined up. The key is me understanding the lesson. That need is the lesson, and the want is the experience for that lesson. So you say you need something, you'll get everything that you want to experience that lesson. It's always in a line. So what do you want to do next? Want to be ballers? It's okay. Lucifer's here to tell you it's alright. You've done it. I've done it. That's why I can come. That's why I can provide with no feeling, no remorse, and I can just go and just shoot, because I'm coming from a place to where I've sat with that, with those emotional points. May not be the same experience, but if I lined up some people right now and asked about their experiences, I can find the emotional contrast in all of them. Because that's what my purpose is. Because I look at the contrast instead of that comparison to compete. You can't compete with anybody. I've talked about that before. You only competing with your trauma. You're only competing with your memories. You neck and neck with your trauma and your memories, competing with them. Everything outside of you is just the reflection of that competition. You'll never achieve that true, authentic authority in your life until you say, you know what? I need to take some accountability. And I got to go beyond the surface. It's time to have those uncomfortable disclosures, those uncomfortable conversations. Tomorrow, Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to get into the uncomfortable disclosure agreements. That means going into that space, whether you think that you want to do family banking, you want to open up a trust, all of those aspects of reflections, and I'm going to break down those reflections to how they reflect into the aspects of your life. Did you even understand what I'm going to give a nice little example. I've been reading about family banking. And family banking is the equivalent of, it's an odd number of members of your board. So family banking would be your seven chakra, your 7 or 9 chakra system. So you have 9 people on the board. Each member on the board has a specific job, a specific title, and they have they're specific to their position, all into how you manage the money that goes into the account. Remember, you gotta get out of time. One of the coolest things that I've learned about family banking is it only takes 9 people. 9 people, $100 a month. That's $900 a month. Do that for 6 months. Then do it again for another 6 months. Then you can put on the life insurance policies on everybody. Now that life insurance policy, everything that you're doing is planting a seed. Remember, everything that you do is planting a seed. And that seed that you plant today, you don't eat from. You got to let it sit there. You got to let it germinate. You got to let it crack open. You got to let it grow. And that's you're nurturing it. So when you're looking at everything that you do today, it's not meant for Friday. It's not meant for the day of love. It's not meant for you applying to getting something from it. Everything that you've done in this fiscal year of your emotional fiscal, those 3 quarters, setting that business plan, writing that petition, that means every 3 months you come back and you adjust and you look at it. That's your steps. That's you integrating. Because by the end of the year, now you got your product. Now you got the harvest. You got the harvest. You plant the new seeds. You plant the new roots. So by the spring, them shit start budding, flowering, growing. So you know what to put where. See, a lot of times I had to realize for myself, I didn't know what to put where. Because I never had a plan. So like during the spring, I'm trying to grow potatoes during the spring, out of season. I'm trying to plant shit in seasons where it doesn't go. So naturally, of course, what you think's gonna fucking happen? You trying to plant in a season where that's not meant to be. You trying to eat from the season where it's not meant to be at. Understanding where you're at, what you must do. Understanding that according to my plan, the role that I need to become. Understanding that point, like, okay, cool. That means I'm not ready for that. That's all that it means. This mentality that we've had based on survival, I'm going to get whatever I want by any means. Sometimes it's time for your ass to sit the fuck down. Universe ain't mysterious. It's your proverbial answer. It's giving you everything that you need at that point in time. It's going to take you sitting down with it. It's going to take you sitting down and dealing with it. You ready for that level of honesty? You ready for that level of honesty? This level of honesty that's going to break you to your core, tear your ass up, make you look like Janet Jackson did on Why Did I Get Married To? You haven't seen that talk? Yeah, go look at it. You ready to get exposed and then go past the point of reaction and truly become vulnerable? Those are the steps. Again, got our podcast this week. We got into, she was not looking good. She looked, that's the root of where you at to take your responsibility to yourself. But when you saw, and then you had an example in that same movie, you saw when she covered it up, but then that nigga got hit, and then she was emotional again because she didn't integrate. She was like, yeah, I'm free, da-da-da-da-da. No. But yeah, October 1st, I'll be starting the registration for the first annual Shadow Healing Retreat. It will be in March. It will be March 23rd to March 29th. It's a 6-day, 5-night intensive boot camp. Whether you've been doing your work, or you just start doing your work, This is a foundational building tool that I'm catering first to the gods, the kings, the men. There will be later installments. The next one will be a women's retreat. The next one will be a co-ed relationship retreat to that narrative. And then we're going to keep building into that. But October 1st, when I will open up the registration, letting you know all the information on it as we're building out through it. Payment plan will be in effect for it. Down payment, evaluation, because it's going to be 16 niggas. And in order for me to manage 16 personalities, there must be an evaluation before you even put down a deposit. Because I know me, and I know I'm protected and all that good stuff. But if I'm taking 16 niggas into the wilderness, got to know a little background about you. So yeah, y'all stay tuned for that. Tomorrow we're going to get into those uncomfortable disclosure agreements and everything else from readings, consultations, got some questions, shadow work therapy, guided meditation, all of my other aspects. Hit me up in the inbox and let's start get that dialogue together. The only thing that's the main important fact is if you don't get it from, I may not be for you, and that's cool because I'm not for everybody. But you come into this space and hearing messages like this or messages from certain from the healer, from the therapist, from us, you got to do it from somewhere. That's what you're being told now. I desire you to be the fucking best. Either you're going to keep doing what you're doing, or you're going to tap in and become the best fucking you. You deserve to be the fucking best. You deserve to be fucking great. You deserve to be the greatest. You deserve to be the fucking best. You deserve it. But you're not entitled to it. You are very deserving of everything that you desire, but you're not entitled to it. Let that sizzle real quick. And I'll see y'all tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if not before then. I love you. We love us. Ashe.